Hi friends, Celine here. Welcome to my studio. I have just completed part 1 of the Milan Art Institute 4-part mastery program. And part 1 was basically an intensive tune-up of technical skills to push your drawing and oil painting to be that much more professional. So going into the mastery program, I had already had about 10 years or more of technical training in drawing and painting, so I wasn't expecting to get that much out of part 1. To my surprise, my skills have leveled up in some big ways, and so I wanted to share some of what I've learned, especially for you artists out there that have some experience already. And I wanted to create this video specifically to talk about what I've learned about composition in the last few months. Milan, one of the main teachers, went back and kind of reviewed the rule of thirds and just said that, these are kind of like the 4 points on any picture plane that you must put your focal point. And I was like, I've been painting for years, obviously I've just been doing this intuitively. I went back and started looking at my paintings and I was like, ooh. So I was like, do I just suck at composition? And clearly it was something that I needed to revisit. But it also got me thinking, right before I started the program, I started kind of on this track of really exploring the compositional device of symmetry. There must be a reason why I was interested in exploring this, and the rule of thirds didn't feel compatible with that. And so it led me on this journey of kind of researching composition and figuring out how I could reconcile symmetry with the rules of creating a dynamic composition. So the mastery program teachers say this many times, that symmetry is static and therefore uninteresting to the viewer, and symmetry doesn't sell. In fact, in the lesson on composition, Milan, her theory is that people that are drawn to putting symmetry in their compositions are actually compensating for a sense of lack of control in their life, which on some level I can relate to. I mean, since kind of exploring symmetry, I have definitely come face to face with my own compulsive desire for control in moments. So that's good. It's been an interesting mirror. But I also really love to take risks and break the rules a little bit. And so, especially when it comes to art. And so when an art teacher tells me that there's one right way to do something, to not put symmetry in my artwork, I want to prove them wrong. Hence this video. So this taking on the challenge of creating a strong composition with symmetry has led me to researching alternative methods of composition mapping. And so depending on the proportions of the picture plane that you choose, there is going to be a specific kind of implicate geometry between those proportions, between the width and the length. And so basically composition mapping helps you understand this implicate geometry so that you can more precisely place your composition in relation to the existing harmony of that empty space. And so on a practical level, composition mapping involves kind of sketching out the skeleton of your blank page, not with lines that will appear in the final result, but as kind of a guide to help you place your composition on that page. And so it's going to include lines, angles, and anchor points or intersection points that complement your chosen frame's proportions. To put it another way, composition mapping is kind of finding the skeleton of the blank page in a way that helps you understand the relationship between the edges, the corners, and the center point. And so there are lots of ways to describe those relationships. Which are the points that are, in fact, the most strategic in terms of being pleasing to the eye and natural for the viewer to hone in on when faced with a picture plane and all the things that create the composition within the space, and so that they arrive at focal points in the most natural and pleasing way, so that their experience of the painting is the most impactful. I feel like it's our job as artists to investigate composition and to really bring our innovation to it. And there is so much more that I could talk about in terms of symmetry and composition and how it relates to the function and meaning of a piece, the different types of symmetry, how some of my favorite visionary painters use symmetry effectively to illustrate different narratives about divinity. The spiritual significance of the circle, the square, and the triangle, the mandala as a very particular kind of art form that incorporates the circle and square, how the purpose of the mandala is to bring the viewer into a state of centeredness and peace, as well as present kind of an opposing theory inspired by psychoanalyst Carl Jung, positing that an artwork needs a degree of chaos or asymmetry in order for the viewer to find a sense of inner balance. It's very important for artists to understand the tools at our fingertips for really creating mystical experiences. How you use those and how they relate to each other says something very specific